In the deepest vault of Windsor Castle sits a tiara that could have destroyed the British monarchy. Queen Elizabeth II knew this. She also knew that wearing it would have been the most natural thing in the world. It was, after all, her very first tiara, given to her with love on her 18th birthday. But she never touched it, not once in 70 years. This isn't a story about forgotten jewels or lost treasures. This is about the impossible choices that defined a reign, the personal sacrifices hidden behind public duty, and the magnificent tiaras that reveal more about Elizabeth II than any crown she ever wore. When Queen Elizabeth II died in 2022, she left behind the world's most valuable jewellery collection, over £6 billion worth of diamonds, emeralds and pearls. The public had seen her in dozens of tiaras across 7 decades. But here's what shocked even palace insiders. Hidden in the royal vaults were spectacular tiaras, each worth millions, that she deliberately chose never to wear. Why would a queen who understood jewellery's power better than anyone ignore such magnificent pieces? Some of these tiaras carried dangerous political messages. Others held painful family memories. A few were simply too beautiful for a woman who had learned that being queen meant choosing duty over desire, symbolism over sentiment, the needs of the monarchy over the longings of her heart. These are jewels that taught us the hardest lesson about power. Sometimes the greatest strength lies not in what we choose to wear, but in what we choose to set aside. The girl she used to be. Let me tell you about the cruelest gift a young woman ever received. Picture this. It's 1944, and London is under siege. Bombs fall nightly, rationing defines daily life, and even the royal family feels the weight of wartime sacrifice. For Princess Elizabeth's 18th birthday, her mother faces an impossible dilemma. How do you celebrate coming of age when the world is falling apart? The Queen Mother reaches into her own jewellery box and selects something perfect, the Cartier Halo Tiara. 16 diamond scrolls arranged in delicate symmetry, created in 1936 when the world still believed in fairy tales. It's exactly what an 18-year-old princess should wear, youthful, elegant, hopeful. But here's the tragedy hidden in this loving gesture. By the time Elizabeth could wear it freely, she was no longer the girl it was made for. When her father died unexpectedly in 1952, 25-year-old Elizabeth inherited not just a throne, but an impossible burden. Every choice now carried the weight of empire. Every appearance sent a message to the world. And the delicate scrollwork that seemed perfect for a young princess suddenly felt too modest, too innocent, too reminiscent of the girl she could never be again. Imagine keeping your 18th birthday gift in a drawer for 70 years, knowing that wearing it would remind everyone, including yourself, of dreams you had to abandon for duty. Elizabeth made a choice that would define her reign. She passed the halo to her sister Margaret, who wore it to the 1953 coronation. Later, it went to Princess Anne for her tiara debut. The message was clear. This tiara belonged to young royals with futures still unwritten, not to a queen whose path was carved in stone. The world finally understood the halo's true destiny in 2011, when Catherine Middleton chose it for her wedding to Prince William. After 67 years, it had found its perfect moment. But Elizabeth's sacrifice had made that moment possible. Sometimes the most loving thing a mother can do is ensure her children don't repeat her losses. The dangerous beauty. If the halo represented innocence lost, our next piece reveals the deadly power of beauty itself. The Grenville Emerald Kokoshnik should have been the crown jewel of any collection. A 93.7 carat cabochon emerald, imagine a green stone the size of a quail's egg, surrounded by rose-cut diamonds in the traditional Russian style. When Boucheron crafted it in 1919, they created not just jewellery, but a weapon of seduction. Dame Margaret Grenville, the society hostess who commissioned it, understood power. Her parties could make or break political careers. Her jewelry collection was legendary. And when she died in 1942, she shocked the establishment by leaving everything to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. But this emerald masterpiece came with invisible chains. For over 70 years, it remained hidden. Palace insiders whispered about its questionable provenance, code for secrets too dangerous to speak aloud. Some said the emerald had been looted from Russia during the revolution. Others claimed it carried the curse of the Romanovs. The truth was simpler and more devastating. Wearing it would have sent the wrong message at the wrong time. Then came 2018, and everything changed. When rumours swirled that Meghan Markle had requested the emerald tiara for her wedding, Queen Elizabeth II's response was swift and final: absolutely not. The palace cited concerns about provenance, but royal watchers understood the deeper message. This tiara was too powerful, too controversial, too laden with history for a newcomer to the family. But just 6 months later, those same palace doors opened, and Princess Eugenie appeared wearing the very tiara that had been deemed unwearable. The emerald blazed like green fire under the chapel lights, and suddenly the world understood why this piece had remained hidden. Not because it was unwearable, but because it had been waiting for exactly the right moment to emerge. Elizabeth II had spent decades protecting this tiara from scandal, preserving it for the moment when its beauty could shine without shadow. Her patience had transformed a dangerous jewel into a triumphant one. The weight of love. Sometimes the most painful gifts are the ones given with the purest love. In 1893, the people of Lincolnshire presented young Princess Victoria Mary of Teck with a simple diamond brooch to celebrate her engagement. It was a modest gift from modest people, but it carried something priceless, genuine affection from her future subjects. Nearly 40 years later, as Queen Mary, she commissioned Garrard to transform that beloved brooch into something extraordinary, the Diamond Bandeau. 11 sections of brilliant cut diamonds in perfect Art Deco symmetry, with the original Lincolnshire brooch as its centerpiece. It was wearable architecture, a crown fit for the modern age. When Queen Mary died in 1953, she left this masterpiece to her granddaughter Elizabeth. But Elizabeth never wore it. For 65 years, it remained in the vaults while royal jewellery experts wondered if it had been damaged, lost, or quietly dismantled. The truth was more complex. This tiara carried the weight of Queen Mary's expectations, her vision of what a modern queen should be. But Elizabeth II was forging her own path, creating her own style, building her own relationship with her people. Wearing her grandmother's vision of modernity might have trapped her in the past. Then came May 19, 2018, and Meghan Markle's wedding day. When the chapel doors opened and Meghan appeared wearing the Diamond Bandeau, the jewellery world gasped. Here was a tiara that had skipped an entire generation, waiting in darkness for its moment to shine. The Art Deco lines that had seemed too bold for the 1950s were perfect for a 21st century bride. Elizabeth's restraint had preserved something precious: the tiara's ability to surprise, to delight, to feel fresh and modern even after a century. By refusing to wear it herself, she had ensured it would have its perfect moment. But the Diamond Bandeau wasn't the only piece waiting for its time. Hidden in the same vaults was a tiara that carried an even more personal story, one that would reveal the depth of Elizabeth's sacrifice. The Roses of Memory. In 1923, the Earl of Strathmore made a father's promise to his daughter. As Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon prepared to marry the Duke of York, he presented her with a tiara of wild diamond roses, the Strathmore rose. Each bloom was crafted with such delicacy they seemed to tremble with life, a perfect gift for a young woman marrying for love. The future Queen Mother wore her rose tiara with jazz-age confidence, sometimes across her forehead in fashionable bandeau style. But when her husband unexpectedly became king in 1936, everything changed. The delicate roses that suited a duke's wife seemed too modest for a queen consort facing a constitutional crisis. When Queen Elizabeth II inherited the rose tiara in 2002, it had been unworn for over 60 years. The roses remained perfect, their diamonds as brilliant as ever, but they carried something more precious than beauty. They carried memory. This wasn't just her mother's tiara. It was a symbol of the life her mother had planned before duty intervened. The roses represented the woman the Queen Mother might have been if she had remained a duke's wife, living quietly in the countryside, raising her children away from the glare of public scrutiny. For Elizabeth II, wearing this tiara would have been like reopening an old wound, not just her mother's sacrifice, but her own. She too had been forced to abandon a simpler life when her uncle abdicated. She too had learned that royal duty meant setting aside personal desires. The roses waited in darkness for exactly 100 years. In November 2023, exactly a century after its creation, Catherine, Princess of Wales, chose the Strathmore rose for a state banquet. The delicate blooms finally caught light again, their diamonds sparkling like tears of joy. The tiara that had been too painful for 2 generations of queens had found its perfect moment with the third. The imperial burden. Some jewels make bold statements, and few have ever been bolder than the Delhi Durbar tiara. But sometimes being bold means being unwearable. Commissioned by Queen Mary for the 1911 Delhi Durbar, the ceremony proclaiming King George V as Emperor of India, this towering circlet projected imperial power across the subcontinent. Garrard crafted it from dismantled tiara diamonds, creating a masterpiece of lyres and scrollwork originally crowned with 10 magnificent emeralds. When Queen Mary wore it in Delhi, she embodied the British Empire at its zenith, diamonds blazing under the Indian sun. But empires fade, and imperial symbols become complicated legacies. When Elizabeth II inherited it in 2002, the empire had become the Commonwealth. The very concept of imperial dominance that the tiara represented was antithetical to everything her reign had achieved. She had spent decades transforming Britain from an imperial power into the head of a voluntary association of equal nations. Elizabeth wore the Delhi Durbar exactly once to a state visit in Malta in 2005. The choice seemed deliberate. Malta, a former colony turned independent Commonwealth nation, provided perfect context for this imperial relic. It was her way of acknowledging the past while embracing the future. She then loaned it to Camilla, who wore it once before it disappeared back into the vaults. Perhaps some jewels are simply too heavy with history to wear comfortably in the modern world. But not all of Elizabeth's unworn tiaras carried such weighty symbolism. Some told more intimate stories of family, love, and the complex relationships that define royal life. The lotus that bloomed again. The Queen Mother had received a diamond and pearl necklace as a 1923 wedding gift. Rather than wear it as intended, she had it reimagined as something new. A tiara featuring stylized lotus flowers rising from pearls, their diamond petals catching light like morning dew. The lotus became one of the Queen Mother's early favorites, perfectly suited to 1920s elegance. She passed it to Margaret in the 1950s, where it found new life as part of Margaret's glamorous image throughout the swinging 60s. After Margaret's death in 2002, Elizabeth II inherited it but never wore it. Perhaps it was too associated with Margaret's rebellious spirit, or maybe it didn't fit Elizabeth's conservative aesthetic. The lotus represented a freedom that Elizabeth, as queen, could never claim. The Lotus remained hidden until 2013, when Catherine, Princess of Wales, chose it for a diplomatic reception. The tiara that had skipped a generation found new purpose, proving that sometimes the best inheritance is patience. The Crescent Moon's Journey. In 1857, Princess Mary Adelaide of Teck inherited diamonds from Princess Mary, Duchess of Gloucester, a daughter of King George III. She crafted them into a spectacular tiara featuring 21 diamond crescents interspersed with 3 diamond roses. The Teck crescent caught light like captured moonbeams, creating a celestial crown. It passed through generations, to Princess Margaret of Teck, then Queen Mary, then the Queen Mother in 1937. Elizabeth II inherited it in 2002, but never wore it publicly, instead loaning it to Camilla. Yet even Camilla hasn't worn it in public, leaving this Victorian masterpiece as one of the collection's most mysterious treasures. The Teck Crescent represents the responsibility of preserving beauty even when it no longer fits the current moment. The Greek Connection. When Princess Elizabeth married Prince Philip in 1947, his mother, Princess Andrew of Greece, presented her with a diamond tiara featuring the classical Greek Meander pattern. The piece included honeysuckle motifs and a central laurel wreath, connecting the British monarchy to Philip's Greek royal lineage. Yet Elizabeth never wore it. Perhaps the Greek symbolism felt too foreign during sensitive post-war years, or maybe she preferred pieces with more direct British connections. Instead, she gave it to daughter Anne in 1972. Anne embraced it immediately, making it a signature piece. The bold patterns suited Anne's confident personality, and she wore it regularly to state occasions. The story came full circle in 2011 when Anne's daughter Zara chose it for her wedding. A piece Elizabeth never wore became a cherished family heirloom, passed from grandmother to granddaughter. The Honeycomb's Legacy. The Grenville Honeycomb Tiara, with its distinctive lattice of nearly 142 carats of diamonds, became the Queen Mother's signature piece. Created in 1921 by Boucheron for Dame Margaret Grenville, it was later enhanced by Cartier. The Queen Mother wore it constantly for 60 years, to state openings, diplomatic receptions, countless galas. It captured her personality, structured yet warm, traditional yet sparkling. When she died in 2002, Elizabeth II inherited this iconic piece but never wore it. The reason was profound. She couldn't. This wasn't just a tiara anymore. It was her mother's crown, so deeply associated with the Queen Mother that wearing it would have felt like impersonation. Instead, Elizabeth loaned it to Camilla, recognizing it needed someone who could make it their own. Camilla embraced it immediately, and it became her signature piece, just as it had been the Queen Mother's. The Crown of Sacrifice. These 9 magnificent tiaras reveal a truth about Queen Elizabeth II that we rarely acknowledge. Her greatest strength lay not in what she chose to wear, but in what she chose to set aside. Each unworn tiara represents a different kind of sacrifice. The Cartier halo, the girl she used to be, the Grenville Emerald, the risks she wouldn't take, the Diamond Bandeau, the expectations she refused to fulfill, the Strathmore rose, the memories too painful to revisit, the Delhi Durbar, the imperial past she helped transform, the Lotus, the freedom she could never claim, the Teck Crescent, the beauty preserved for future generations, Princess Andrew's tiara, the foreign connections she diplomatically avoided, the honeycomb, the mother's legacy too sacred to touch. But here's the remarkable truth. By refusing to wear these tiaras, Elizabeth II didn't diminish them, she elevated them. She transformed them from mere jewelry into symbols of patience, wisdom, and the long view of history. She understood that sometimes the most powerful thing a queen can do is wait. Look at what happened when she finally released them. Catherine's radiant smile beneath the Cartier halo. Eugenie's triumphant moment in the Grenville Emerald. Meghan's modern elegance in the Diamond Bandeau. The Strathmore rose blooming again after a century of waiting. Elizabeth II spent 70 years teaching us that true power isn't about taking, it's about knowing when to give. These weren't forgotten jewels gathering dust in royal vaults. They were seeds, carefully preserved, waiting for exactly the right moment to bloom. In the end, perhaps these untouched tiaras tell us more about Elizabeth II than all the crowns she did wear. They remind us that behind every symbol of power stands a human being who understood that the greatest gift a leader can give is ensuring that those who come after have something beautiful to inherit. The crown she never wore was the crown of sacrifice itself, invisible, unadorned, but more magnificent than any tiara ever created. What treasures in your own life are you preserving for the right moment? What sacrifices are you making today to ensure tomorrow's possibilities? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if this journey through the hidden chambers of royal history moved you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more stories of the extraordinary choices that shape our world. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones hidden in the shadows, waiting for their moment to catch the light.